Happy Thursday morning, everybody. Welcome into another edition of Morning Jocks for you here. Conrad Van Order and Damian Mitchell with you. We will be here alongside you until 7 o'clock, getting you ready for week 6 of the college football season. I know it's crazy to think that after this week, we will be very close to the halfway mark of the college football season. So time absolutely flies. I honestly didn't even recognize until about 8 o'clock last night that we were in the month of October. So it just kind of lets you know how quickly things go by.
It's because the
And
Braves aren't playing in the playoffs. You didn't know it was Choptober.
sure.
That's I understand. I understand.
Yeah, we'll go with that. It's funny you bring that up. And I don't know, maybe I shouldn't start off this way because it's just
You
kind of,
should.
I'm just kind of taking a jab. But
You should.
the amount of Braves fans that I saw, in the past couple of days, ooh, what time do the Mets play today? Same time you play, brother. Same time. It's just stuff like that is so wild to me. I always get a kick out of it when you have one fan base that's talking smack to a rival and the first fan base has done nothing whatsoever to deserve it. It's just, it's funny. And I'm sorry, Braves fans. We love you, but I get a kick out of it, Barrett Salee. Oh, sorry. Anyways, we do have a jam-packed weekend of you will have a weekend of baseball, just not if you're a Brave or a Mets fan. You can watch the Phillies though. I know that's what they typically like to do is watch the Phillies play. As they will be taking on the Dodgers after the Dodgers got a big win last night over Damian Cincinnati Reds
Ouch.
to advance out of the wild card round. So you do have some baseball that you could enjoy this weekend. But of course, we all know we're going to be enjoying some college football here on the show. And the headliner, obviously, College Game Day is going to be down there, will be Tuscaloosa. It still sounds weird to say it, but it will be Vanderbilt traveling to Alabama this weekend. That's the big matchup around the world of college football. But we have a lot of really, really good matchups, to be honest with you. Now, it's not as good as last weekend, but there are a lot of really, really good games. So we'll just go through real quick and kind of lay it out for you, what you have to look forward to this weekend, not only around the SEC, but around the rest of the country as well. Because I will say this, we might have the funniest game or the funniest matchup of the season this weekend. So yeah, you think on that for a second. You let me know what you think it is, and I'll share it in a second. But yeah, I think we might have the funniest matchup in college football coming up this weekend, and it's not in the SEC, so that's your only hint that you're going to get. But quickly, starting off in the SEC at 11 a.m., you're going to have Kentucky traveling to Georgia. So Georgia getting a chance to start another win streak there in Athens after they fell to Alabama last weekend. But we remember this game last year, Damian. This was not a typical Georgia performance. And if Mark Stoops, had some stones and didn't want to punt it on the Georgia 40-yard line like he did last year, maybe that game ends a little differently. Probably not. But
Yeah, it's a physical game. It's one of those Kentucky wants to make it a fist fight, and they just don't have the Jimmies and Joes. Who would have thought that at one point Will Levis, as the Kentucky quarterback, actually made it a ball game with Georgia? Now they still lost, but if you look at the score, if you look at the box score, it's Kentucky must have been in the ball game. No, but last year, yeah, it was a little bit of back and forth, but I think it was more Georgia kind of stinking it up early on than it was Kentucky. I never felt like Kentucky was ever going to win that ball game. I just put it like that.
No, but they did make it very, very interesting. But that was a great note. I'll make a side note. Kentucky almost beat Georgia 2 of the last 4 years. Honestly, if you're a Kentucky fan, like you
got to feel good about it.
Oh, yeah, that's sweet. All right, I'm gonna have a good day now. I forgot about that. But that's your 11 a.m. kickoff in the Southeastern Conference there between Kentucky and Georgia at 2:30. That's when you're going to get the Vanderbilt Alabama game. But you have another game at 2:30. It could be interesting. I'm not expecting an upset, but I think it could be maybe a good barometer for the Texas offense, and that is going to be Texas heading down to Gainesville to take on the Florida Gators. So, look, we all know Florida's been kind of a disaster this year. According to Billy Napier, DJ Lagway had a look in his eyes this week that gives him confidence that maybe he's going to look like the DJ Lagway of last year. We'll have to wait and see. But I think this one's very interesting for Texas because, they should be able to go in there and win, but Florida defense is pretty solid, right? So this will be a good test for Arch Manning just to see how much he has grown since they were first tested against host Ohio State. to kick off the season there. So that's your 2:30 slate. At 3 o'clock, you've got Oklahoma hosting Kent State. So this will be the first game without John Mateer. See what Michael Hawkins Jr. has to do with the Sooners, but that should, I mean, they are still a 45.5 point favorite without Mateer. So I think they're going to be just fine. And then I think what could end up being, I know, again, Alabama Vandy's going to get a lot of the headlines. This could end up being the most competitive game of the weekend in this SEC, in my opinion. That's going to be the 6:30 game on the SEC network. You're going to have Cole Kubelik doing sidelines for this one. And that's Mississippi State at Texas A&M. Now, we'll give our picks tomorrow, and we'll see, where me and Damian are kind of leaning on this one a little more in depth. But just on paper right now, I mean, Texas A&M is favored by 14.5. I certainly think Mississippi State can keep it within 2 touchdowns of Texas A&M. But it's just this is such a big game, I think, for Mississippi State and Jeff Lebby, and not even necessarily if they win it. Obviously, you want to win it, right? But how do you bounce back from that game against Tennessee? Because that felt like that was going to be such, just barely let it slip away in overtime. So now can you bounce back the next week? Because this is what the SEC is like, right? If you want to be one of the big boys, you have to be able to go maybe have a heartbreaking loss one week, but then find a way to pick yourself up off the mat and go to work the next week because you've got an opponent that's just as, if not even more difficult coming your way the next weekend.
And I think it's a measuring stick too of just how far away are you, because you've knocked off the reigning Big 12 champion in Arizona State. You got them at home. You go to overtime with a talented Tennessee team that was in the college football playoff last year, and then Texas A&M is kind of on that cusp where they were on the outside looking in last year, and this year you can kind of play spoiler. And if again, nobody's kind of expecting Mississippi State to mess around here and be in Atlanta or even really be in the conversation, but if they knock off these kind of caliber teams, it kind of opens, okay, well, Jeff Lebby flipped this thing around just like that. And it kind of makes the conversation here in the state a little bit more interesting too, because it's how can Jeff Lebby in Mississippi State flip how can he flip it that quickly when a 2-10 win team? And
Hugh Freeze hasn't.
I wasn't gonna say it out loud, but you know what I'm saying.
No, I know exactly where you're going with that. And I will say this. I think also for Texas A&M, right, I think we're all kind of conditioned at this point to think, okay, they're looking good right now, but at some point they're going to stub their toe, right, because it's Texas A&M, and that's what they've just historically done. And, this is one of those games, too, for Texas A&M. Like, you need to – if you want to be serious and have a legitimate chance at making it to Atlanta and making it to a college football playoff, these are the kinds of games you have to be able to win in the SEC, especially when you're playing at home, ranked in the top 10 against a good Mississippi State team, but one that's not even in the top 25 themselves. Excuse me. If you're Texas A&M, you absolutely have to find a way to win that game, in my opinion. So that's your SEC slate coming up for the weekend. You also have you're going to get it at 11 a.m. on ESPNU. You're going to have UAB hosting Army right here in Protective Stadium. So that should be an interesting matchup there for the Blazers after they're coming off of a bye week. I would say the big game outside of the SEC is Miami at Florida State. So can Florida State bounce back from the Virginia loss? Can Miami get another big win and kind of, maybe, just have a better resume and a bigger argument to maybe be the number one team in the entire country? And then we have the funniest matchup of the weekend. Do you have any idea what game I'm thinking of?
Is it Clemson, North Carolina?
Absolutely.
Let's go.
At 11 a.m. on Saturday. Clemson, 11 a.m. Clemson at North Carolina. If you've been following college football at all this year, you know why that's hilarious. And it's bad versus worse. I mean, can Bill Belichick somehow – I mean, I know that Clemson's down, but you have to feel like that would be a big win for Bill Belichick. And then similarly for Clemson – right? Like, it's been such a disaster of a start. If you lose to North Carolina, you're kicking them while they're down. So, in my opinion, the funniest game of the weekend there. But you do have that to look forward to coming up around the college football world. And a quick note, tonight you do have 2 football games if you're interested in that, as well as in the college ranks, you're going to have Sam Houston State at New Mexico State. So that's going to be 8 o'clock. I'll be honest, I'm going to be watching this next game that I'm talking about. And this should be a very good game. It's a divisional matchup in the NFL, Thursday Night Football, tonight at 7:15. You have the 49ers traveling out to SoFi to take on the Rams there in an NFC West matchup. And 49ers were looking good. I know they stubbed their toe last week, but both 49ers and Rams look pretty sharp to start the season, and especially impressive with the 49ers being so banged up injury wise. So we'll see how that one plays out tonight. And of course, we'll give our recap of it to you tomorrow. But that is your Thursday night football action that you have coming your way. So always excited for week 6 of the college football season. And we talked about it. Alabama Vanderbilt going to be the headliner there. And one Diego Pavia just cannot stop the trash talk when it comes to the Alabama Crimson Tide. So we'll share the Vandy quarterback's latest comments with you about the Tide next here on JOX. 6:15. Welcome back into Morning Jocks here on your Thursday morning. Appreciate you tuning us in each and every day right here on Jocks, your home for college football all year long, not just during the season, but we certainly do enjoy it when it's here in the season. And, somebody that we've heard a lot from over the last year or so now, and that's Diego Pavia, the quarterback there of the Vanderbilt Commodores. And look, I get it. He's a confident guy, right? And that's kind of his thing. He carries himself with a certain, with a certain swagger that some people enjoy. Some people maybe it's getting a little old for them now. Some people just never liked it to begin with. But he's certainly a guy that's going to speak his mind and probably go out of his way sometimes to, in my opinion, at least say something that's going to get some attention. And so I thought it was very interesting. Yesterday, you had an interview come out between Diego Pavia and Chris Lowe of On 3 Sports. And I'm just going to read you an excerpt of the interview. This is a direct quote from Diego Pavia about the game in Tuscaloosa this Saturday against the Alabama Crimson Tide. Quote from Diego Pavia: "I know we've got to bring it, that's for sure. The crowd, I think, is going to be a big factor in the game, but we've just got to play within the white lines. If we do that, if we play our game, it won't be close." So there you go. You have Diego Pavia saying that if the crowd's going to be a factor, it's going to be loud, but if they just, if they stay amongst themselves, they go out there, they execute the game plan that they've been working on all week for this Alabama game, that's not even going to be close, and they're going to blow past Alabama and right to the top of the rankings.
It's the same conversation we've had about Diego Pavia for, like you said, essentially a year now. There's a balance between confident and delusional, and it seems as though he kind of gets it blurred at times. But this is the kicker. They beat you last year.
Absolutely.
So he has a right.
He can talk some smack if he wants to
feel this way.
Yeah.
Now, do I necessarily agree? Maybe not. But I think that if they played their game, it could be interesting. I just don't necessarily think this game is not going to be quote unquote close if they play their ball game.
Yeah, look, here's one thing I'll say about Pavia. And I mean this as a compliment. I believe that he genuinely believes everything he says. Like, whether it's ridiculous or not, I really do believe, like, in his heart of hearts, he believes all of these things to be true because that's just the way that he's wired. And I actually think, I'll be honest, like, that's pretty admirable in a lot of ways, right? Like, that's kind of what you want in a leader of a football team. I'm not going to say that that's necessarily a bad thing. Now, do I think he goes too far sometimes? Absolutely. I mean, you go back to the, if you watch the Any Given Saturday documentary on Netflix where, him and one of his teammates, and his teammate's like, yeah, like, just thinking, if you want to be a role model to these kids, like, I think you say a lot of good things, but maybe don't follow up a lot of the things you say with the F word, maybe, just things like that, where it's like, you want to present yourself a certain way, but you're also trying to be yourself, but you also have to understand that you're bringing a lot of attention on yourself, and that's going to bring scrutiny with it as well. So I genuinely believe that he 100% thinks if Vanderbilt goes out there and executes, they're going to beat the ever-living crap out of Alabama on Saturday. But like you just said, Damian, I don't think any of us believe. Now, could it happen? Absolutely it could. But I think there's a very, very slim chance, not of Vanderbilt winning the game, but of them just absolutely throttling Alabama, 45-24. Alabama fans are leaving early in the fourth quarter. Like, could that happen? Absolutely. Anything's possible in college football these days. But I don't know. I guess I go back to Clark Lee, and you're kind of at the point where you probably just kind of let Diego do Diego things because of what he's brought to your football program. But I just feel like if you're Clark Lee, you hear these comments every time. You're like, man, if you just stopped one or two sentences earlier, we would be fine. But you had to get that last comment in, and this is where we sit now. So maybe just a little extra motivation for the guys over the next couple of days. Not that I think they need any after what happened last year, but it's just he can't help himself, man.
And I know you don't want to hear this, but the last quarterback that had some things to say about Alabama going into kickoff
worked out for him.
It worked out. So
yeah,
maybe lightning strikes twice in the same spot, but
quarterbacks talking trash it's 1-0.
Yeah, it is, and the disrespect will be handled accordingly.
Yeah, so we'll, and obviously, right, if we're wrong, and on Monday Vanderbilt's up here and they just absolutely walloped Alabama, then we'll be talking about, people wanting Kalen DeBoer fired again and Vanderbilt being a national championship contender. So it'll be interesting one way or the other. But yeah, he just can't really help himself right now. So I'd love to get some of your thoughts. So what do you think about Diego Pavia? Is the shtick getting old now? Are you still enamored by him and Vanderbilt? Because nobody's denying that he's a great player, right? It's like, all right, just let's simmer down for a little bit, big dog. Let's focus on the game and then talk your trash afterwards if you're able to go in there and pull off a W.
And also, I mean, you are an Alabama fan, and me being an Ole Miss guy, I'm kind of sitting back and just observing. Are you nervous about this game?
I mean, I think it'll be. I'm expecting it to be a tough game. Like I'm not expecting Alabama to just roll in there and win by 25 points or anything, but
You're expecting of a competitive matchup,
yeah, but I mean, I expect Alabama to win
right?
because I think that again, I think this is the one game that coming into the year they all were going to be ready for no matter what because you are not going to lose to Vanderbilt 2 years in a row. And again, it could happen, but I feel very confident that they're going to be pretty locked in for this. On top of the fact that again, I like Vanderbilt. I think Vanderbilt's been good, but you also have the reality that Vanderbilt, outside of playing at South Carolina, which that was a very impressive win, even though they were without their quarterback and you could tell the spirit of that team was broken. They put their foot on their neck and they stepped down on it. Like you got to give them credit for that. But otherwise, you beaten up on Charleston Southern, Virginia Tech, who fired their coach, Georgia State, and Utah State. Like they haven't played anybody outside of South Carolina. But South Carolina A is not as good as we thought they were going to be, and B, they were playing with their backup quarterback, and they just never recovered from that. So I think Vanderbilt's good. Do I think that their stats look really good because of who they played? Absolutely. But I still think they're a good team. And as Damian Mitt brought up, I mean, you won last year. So you have every reason to be talking a little talk coming into this game. And that will be addressed on Saturday, whether it's Diego Pavi addressing that or the Alabama defense addressing that. We will just have to wait and see. But speaking of people talking, we got to hear from Hugh Freeze for the first time yesterday since the loss to Texas A&M. So I wanted to share really quick just a couple of comments, some quotes from Hugh Freeze yesterday on the teleconference. So this quote was shared around and was kind of misquoted a couple of times. So I wanted to give the initial quote because some people were saying, does Hugh Freeze not even know how many games Auburn's played this year? But there were some people that had misquoted it on social media. So I'm going to read this verbatim. This was Hugh Freeze yesterday. He says, quote, if we can coach a little better, put us in better positions, you're sitting here a lot differently and sitting here hopefully maybe at 4-1 or even 5-0. That's not out of the realm of possibility if anybody looks at reality from those games. But we're not. We're sitting here at 3-2. End quote.
He said the same thing last year when they lost to Arkansas. It's if you play this game 9 times out of 10, we win. It's the only thing that I'm really getting frustrated with Hugh Freeze about is I understand hindsight's 2020, but sometimes you just don't need to say it out loud.
Yeah.
We know. But how many times do we have to keep going back and saying, "Oh, well, if I would have done this, if I'd have done that, if we do this again, if we it's at some point you got to go out there and do it. Simple as that. Because I think he's doing more harm than good when he reflects and says it out loud. Like, I understand if you're saying this amongst the coaches and you're saying this amongst the team. But now when we hear things like this, it's, okay, when are we going to get it? That's the thing. And I've had this discussion with Auburn fans, too, of I understand that you lost close to Oklahoma and Texas A&M, but you can't keep saying this again. Eventually, you're going to have to say, we beat them.
Yeah. You've lost too many close games against good teams where,
right.
Okay, I guess it's better than getting blown out by good teams, but.
Which is fair, which is fine.
It's still a loss. They're both losses. It doesn't.
Yeah. How about we turn this conversation to, oh, we beat those teams?
Yeah.
Because, and you brought it up yesterday when we were going over the college football playoff things, and somebody texted in and said if Auburn goes 9-3, and I'm like, okay, so where's the biggest win that they would have because of the teams that I'm assuming that would be in that conversation as well, and you didn't beat them. So why would we put you in? So I understand after the fact, and he also said something about we need to run the ball more. And
Oh, to be exact, he said, "quote We've got to commit to running the football again, even if it's a 2 or 3 yard gain."
then do it. Then do it. That
Yeah, I don't think that one is going to sit well with people.
just do it, because we beat our head against the wall as a unit of why is Jarquez Hunter's jersey still as clean as it was in the fourth quarter as it was in the first. And then this past weekend, when both of your running backs get a combined 8 carries, yeah, you can tell us that, oh, we need to commit to it. Do it. Let us believe it.
Yeah, there's certainly the proof is in the pudding, right? And so you're going to play a Georgia team next week that's going to have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, and you're going to have an opportunity to go out there and get the biggest win of your tenure at Auburn if you're Hugh Freeze. But you're going to have to do it. And these things, again, I think they're falling on deaf ears because you've just heard them so many times. And, we'll see. Maybe they do run the football more. But he also said after the Oklahoma game that they got away from the run too early. And then you saw that equal 8 total carries to the running backs against Texas A&M. So we'll get more into Auburn next week, though, as they are still enjoying their bye week as it stands right now. But we do want to get back to Alabama and Vanderbilt, the big game coming up this weekend. And what are the keys to victory for Alabama taking on Vanderbilt? How do we see this game playing out? Me and Damian, we will break it all down for you next here on JOX. 6:30 here on your Thursday morning. Conrad and Damien with you here on Morning Jocks. Appreciate you joining in. If you're just now joining us, though, about to break down Alabama versus Vanderbilt coming up in Tuscaloosa this weekend. College game day going to be down there. Should be a great scene from Bryant Denny Stadium. But before we do that, we have a very special opportunity for you here on Jocks. And if you are a fan of the Alabama Crimson Tide or just a college football fan in general, you're certainly not going to want to miss this opportunity. So, us here at Jocks and our friends at Total Sports Travel are giving you the chance to go see Alabama as they take on South Carolina in Columbia, South Carolina later this season. One lucky winner is going to score a trip for two. That includes round trip airfare, a 2-night stay at the Ryder Hotel in Charleston, 2 tickets to Saturday's game, and transportation to and from the stadium. All you're going to have to do, now listen closely, all you have to do to enter for a chance to win, text the keyword TIDE, TIDE, like Crimson Tide, to 205-834-9450. Again, you're going to text the keyword TIDE, TIDE, to 205-834-9450. So don't miss your shot at the ultimate game day experience, courtesy of Total Sports Travel and us right here at Jocks. So I know we did one of those giveaways for the Auburn-Oklahoma game a couple of weeks ago, and happy to report that lucky winner. They had a fantastic time, absolutely enjoyed the trip. So, I mean, all you got to do is text in and you could go see Alabama play on the road and have all of those wonderful amenities to go with it. So certainly a great opportunity there that we're proud to offer our wonderful listeners here on Jocks. But let's get into the game coming up this weekend, Damien. So we'll set the stage a little bit, some news and notes that you may want to be aware of heading into the game. So yesterday we were just talking about Hugh Freeze, what he said on the teleconference about Auburn and their offense moving forward. We also got to hear from Kalen DeBoer. This is what he had to say about the game coming up this weekend. Quote, "We've got to prepare to do it again. Vanderbilt is extremely well coached and talented. They're playing a high level of football right now." So that was Kalen DeBoer, his quick assessment there of what Alabama is going to face against Vanderbilt this weekend. We do know now that Keon Sabb, the safety there for Alabama, he is going to play against Vanderbilt. He had gotten knocked out of the Georgia game late in that one. Got a little banged up there in Athens, but he looks like he's making a good recovery this week, and he expects to be back out on the field on Saturday. So that's certainly some good news for the Alabama secondary. And look, I understand. I think Keon Sabb is one of those guys that maybe has disappointed a couple of people, myself included at times. And you go back to the beginning of last season, he had some big interceptions early on before he got hurt, and it just looked like he was going to, really, really, really make a big impact there. And, hopefully he's able to get back on the field and be a big factor for Alabama on Saturday right there alongside Bray Hubbard. So that's some good injury news for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Haven't had a lot of good injury news for Alabama lately, but that is certainly some to go along with it. So that's what you got from Kalen DeBoer yesterday. Now we'll break down the numbers for you real quick before we share our thoughts on what Alabama needs to do to have success against Vanderbilt this weekend. So if we look at total offense on the season, Alabama ranks 37th in the country, Vanderbilt 14th. If we look at total defense, Alabama is 19th in the country, Vanderbilt is 21st. When it comes to scoring offense, Alabama is 26th in the country. They're averaging 38 points a game exactly. And Vanderbilt is 4th, as they're averaging exactly 49 points a game on the season. And then scoring defense-wise, Alabama a slight edge in that one, as they are 28th, with they're giving up 16.5 points a game on average. And then Vanderbilt, they're 31st. They're giving up 17.2 points per game on average. You also have an advantage for Vanderbilt when it comes to third down offense. They're number 4 in the country. Alabama is 13th. Third down defense, Vanderbilt's 49th. Alabama is 101st. But then you have the big dichotomy here on the defensive side of the ball for both of these teams, right? So Alabama, they're pretty good against the pass, but not great against the run. They're 80th in run defense in the country. On the flip side, Vanderbilt, really good at run defense so far. They're 6th best rush defense in the country, but they have the 88th best passing defense in the country. So I think we all expect a big weekend for Ty Simpson. And so we can start there, I think, Damien, with Ty Simpson, just how impressive he's been. Have you seen anything from Ty Simpson that makes you think, okay, maybe he's not going to be able to keep this hot streak up moving forward? Because, I mean, doing what he did on the road in Athens, especially on third down early in that game on Saturday. I guess I look at that and I go, if you can do that in that situation and your first road start in the SEC and on third downs and like 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, I feel like that's going to translate to any other situation you face this year. Do you think I'm crazy for saying that, or do you think is there anything with Ty Simpson that makes you think he can't keep this up and continue to improve?
Nope, he's playing with the utmost confidence as he should as the starting quarterback.
Yeah.
I think his receivers are kind of letting him down at times, but as far as staring all these defenses right in the face, even when they get pressure on him, he's still getting rid of the ball, putting it in pretty safe spots. He's doing everything that you need him to do as QB1. He's taking care of the football, hadn't had any turnovers. He's doing everything that's needed of him and that's asked of him and doing it at a high level. And you can tell the confidence that he has. And, everybody's making joke, oh, he's not the best, motivational speaker. His play does all the talking. And I think that was the biggest question mark coming into the season was, can he galvanize the group to lock in and play? And again, there were question marks after week 1, but ever since then, he's done everything he is supposed to do by the book and put Alabama in great situations to win football games, and that's exactly what they've been doing since then.
Yeah, so if Ty Simpson can keep rolling for Alabama, I think a lot of us agreed they're going to have a pretty good chance the rest of the way. But he's going to have to keep that up, and he's going up against Diego Pavia, who, all joking aside, we can say what we want, him talking trash, whatever. He has been one of the best quarterbacks in all of college football this year. He ranks 3rd in QBR at an 88.4. That's his quarterback rating on the season so far. But you look at what he's done through the air. He's completing almost 75% of his passes. That's crazy. 74.6% completion rate. He's thrown for over 1,200 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. And then he's added 294 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns. He's averaging 6 yards a carry there on the season for him. So he's averaging 6 yards a carry, which would be a career best for him in college. He's averaging almost 10 yards per attempt through the air. That would certainly be his best mark so far in college. And he's already thrown for 13 touchdowns. He had 20 all of last season. So he's on pace to blow past that mark this year. Again, I think we also want to remind you that so far this season, he has done this against Charleston Southern, Virginia Tech, Georgia State, Utah State, and then we'll give him credit for South Carolina because, even with Lenore Sellers going out, he doesn't play defense, and he had to go on the road in the SEC. So that was absolutely impressive. But that was also their worst, I guess you would say, offensive performance of the season, but you still won by 20.
So basically you're saying they ain't played nobody, Paul.
Well, if everybody had that mentality about Alabama last week, then I think it's fair to have the same mentality about Vanderbilt going into Bryant-Denny Stadium.
Hey, I was just asking.
Just saying. We just heard that so much. Well, Alabama's only played one good team and they lost. It doesn't matter. Did you see what Maryland did to Wisconsin? Yes, I saw what Maryland did to Wisconsin. I absolutely did see that. Did you see that Utah State was incredibly competitive against Vanderbilt last weekend? But yeah, sure. No, they're going to win a national championship this year, right, guys?
That's how it goes.
They're so good. They're amazing. So it's going to be 2 great quarterbacks, 2 of the very best in the country as it stands. I think we all know, right, for Alabama, defensively, you're going to have to find a way. You got to do a better job of cutting people off before they're able to get completely outside and just run wild down the sidelines on you, because that was such a problem for Alabama last weekend against Georgia. And if you're Vanderbilt, right, why would you not go back and do the exact same thing? That's the kind of thing that's going to work for them. You saw Florida State do it at times early on this season. Alabama has to get better. You can. I know some people would try to frame this as a glass half full, but I look at it as a glass half empty thing. Say, well, against Georgia, they got, they picked up half their yards last week on only 7 plays. So that means that a lot of the play, like you were executing at a high level, a lot of the plays. Okay, you won that game by 3 points because of 7 plays on Georgia's offense. What happens when you play a team that's able to do that a dozen times in a game? You're going to lose, right? So you have to find a way to seal off the edges better. They have to be able to contain some of these guys because we know not only are they going to want to run the ball that way, they're going to want to move the pocket with Pavia, let him be able to move around back there as well. They like doing the short passes. They can pass the ball down the field. They've been doing better with that this year, but I think they're going to feel like they have a blueprint that they can follow from last year, add in some things that you've seen from what you did against Georgia, what you did against Florida State this year, And I think Vanderbilt's going to have a good game plan, and they're going to feel confident about it. And it's going to be on Kane Womack to make adjustments in game, but to also have a much better game plan going in than you had last year against Vanderbilt or week 1 against Florida State.
You got to get them off the field on third downs. That was the Achilles heel last year. And to Vanderbilt's credit, there were some third and longs that they were converting as well.
There were. Yep.
So I think the biggest key for Alabama defensively, getting Vanderbilt off the field on third down. Make them punt the football, because that's something they didn't do at a high level last year. And granted, I will say, through a few games this season, and again, quality of competition does take an effect in this, but they look better offensively. I will give Vanderbilt credit for that.
Yeah, no, I think Vanderbilt's better this year than they were last year.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a heightened sense of urgency of get this team off the field on third down.
So quickly here, last year, the time of possession in this matchup, do you remember how long Vanderbilt had the football, or just guess how long they had the football last year?
I'm saying like 37 minutes.
42 minutes. Vanderbilt had the ball for 42 minutes. Alabama had the ball for 18 minutes last year.
That's triple option numbers.
That is going to have to change if you are Alabama. You absolutely cannot allow that to continue on Saturday against Vanderbilt and Diego Pavio. But it should be, look, it should be a great matchup. Two good quarterbacks, again, two good offenses. Alabama, can they maybe, I think this is a big one for the fan base, right? Because you're proving that you're learning the lessons of last year, right? You're not making the same mistakes as last year. I know the Florida State game was rough, but if you get past this one, I think a lot of people will really finally start to be taking Alabama, and I'm talking about the fan base, starting to believe that this can be a team that can go and make a college football playoff and compete at the highest level this season. So we'll have to wait and see what happens on Saturday down there in Tuscaloosa. But how do you think Alabama is going to fare this weekend against Vanderbilt? What are your thoughts on Diego Pavia? Are you tired of the quarterback there in Nashville? We'd love to hear from you. 205-834-9450 on the Courtesy GMC text line, and that's where we're going to go next. We hear from you here on JOX. Few more moments here on the Thursday edition of Morning Jocks. Just a reminder, Conrad and Damien here with you, by the way. But just a reminder, tomorrow we will do our picks as we do each and every week. So you can look forward to that coming up tomorrow around 6:30 as me and Damien will dive in, give our final thoughts on not only Alabama Vanderbilt, but a lot of the other games going on around the country and give you our picks. And it's one of our favorite segments of the week here on Morning Jock. So hopefully you'll join us for that tomorrow as we get you set for another great weekend of college football. But now we head to the courtesy GMC text line 205-834-9450. And we love your interaction, appreciate it each and every day here on the show. And we couldn't do what we do without you, wonderful listeners of Jock. So let's get some of your thoughts on what's going on this weekend in college football. This text rolls in. It says the FSU quarterback also talked smack and then backed it up against a soft Alabama team, which you brought that up earlier, Damien, but this person still thinks that Alabama is soft. So we'll see if they're soft against Vanderbilt. Dave chimes in with a score prediction early. We also will do that tomorrow, but Dave getting in here a little early. He says Bama wins 45-12.
Oh boy, that's a program-changing loss right there for Vanderbilt.
That would certainly be something. To be fair, last week, now he was a little off on the scores, but he did predict that Bama would upset Georgia, Ole Miss would upset LSU, and Oregon would upset Penn State, and he hit on all of those. So,
hey,
I'm just saying.
He knows what's up. He knows ball.
Maybe we need to be listening to Dave here. Jimmy chimes in on the courtesy GMC text line. Says Alabama will beat Vanderbilt because they no longer have the head case that was. Are you saying Malachi Moore? He said giving up big play after big play. I thought for a second you were trying to do like something with Jalen Milroe and Malachi Moore and combine their names or something there. But yes, no, he was the one that kicked the football. But I think. Yeah, the defense last year was not great.
That's what you're talking. Oh, Malika Moore.
Yeah.
Malika. I know a couple Malikas.
Yeah.
Not Malika Moore though.
Well, now he's in the NFL snapping people's legs, right? Because that was Tyreek Hill on Saturday.
Yeah, it was.
I'm just kidding, Malik. He was making a tackle. He wasn't doing anything.
Making a play on the ball.
He was just making a play on the ball, but it was. I didn't realize that was him until someone pointed that out to me the other day, making the tackle there on Tyreek Hill. Let's see. This text rolls in about Diego Pavia. It says he's got little man syndrome. He runs his pie hole to motivate himself. That's my opinion. Okay.
Dang.
Not a fan, apparently. Our buddy Hastings, always good to hear from him. He chimes in on the text line. Says, Conrad also expected us to beat Florida State in week 1. Don't do this to me again, Conrad. Look, all I'm going to say is I'll be in the press box this weekend, and I'm 2-0 in Alabama games when I sit in the press box. Now, the caveat. It was ULM in Wisconsin, so maybe not a trend yet. I think we need a little more evidence before we start calling that a trend. But I mean, haven't lost, so we'll see if we can keep that streak alive this weekend as well. This text rolls in and says all the Pavia talk is getting old, but if he backs it up, kind of can't blame him. But at the same time, it's like he forgets he doesn't play defense for Vanderbilt as well. And, I mean, give them credit. They've played good defense up to this point for the most part. But, I mean, they let Utah State put some points on them last weekend, and they certainly haven't played. I mean, I guess you would say the South Carolina offense is the best one that they've played with their backup quarterback, and that was an abysmal offense that night. So, yeah, if you're a fan of points, I think you're going to get points for both sides in this game coming up on Saturday. And then this text rolls in and says, I like Diego. This is what makes him who he is, and he is always at his best in crunch time.
Yeah.
There you go. See, you can't
really fault him.
No, not really. Let's see. And then this text rolls in and says, Alabama's going to win, but Vandy covers, I hope. Okay. Don says, come on, Conrad, don't run your mouth and jinx your own team like I do with Auburn. I'm not running my mouth about anything. I have made it very clear this week that I think this is going to be a close game and a tough matchup down in Tuscaloosa. But let's be honest, right? I think if both teams bring their A game, Alabama's A. That's how it should be, right? Let's go to the phone lines really quick. Let's go to Poe here. He wants to chime in on Diego Pavia in Alabama. How are we doing this morning, Poe?
Man, good morning, my guys. Conrad and Damien Beach. Everything good with y'all?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. I just want to come in. Look, I'm just hoping this be a good game, man. Game day down there. You got to try to get, I guess, the home team. Sometimes, pretty much in a game like this, you try to get them the edge on games. But Vanderbilt and Bama, this is one of the games I've really been waiting for the season, man, just to see how this is really gonna play out. But now it's at 2:30, so I ain't got much to say on it. It's just that to see Diego, Ty Simpson, Ryan Williams, all them guys, man. I pretty much just ready for kickoff at 2:30, and just hoping this is just a good game, man. Close, and I like close, not a blowout down to a field goal, I guess. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of blowouts. So I just want to see a real good close game, man. I guess if a field goal moment, and they just go from there, man. And hopefully Vanderbilt and Bama give us a good watch at 2:30. Man, I love y'all. It's your boy Poe. I'm out.
We appreciate you, Poe. Hopefully you get to enjoy the game. He just likes watching competitive football, which I certainly agree with. And I think, again, we're all, whoever you're a fan of, right? Especially if you're an Alabama fan, though, I think, you kind of got to start adopting the mentality of a win is a win, right? If you win by 3 or you win by 30,
a win is a
sure,
win.
you'd rather win by 30, but you're just happy to move on with that victory every week. And that's just kind of the new world of college football that we live in. So, and you have this text that rolls in on the Courtesy GMC text line. Says, I want Vanderbilt to go 11-1, but I do need a complete blowout to exercise the demons from last year. See, like, I can't hate on Vanderbilt because it's Vanderbilt, right? Like, it's honestly very cool that they are competing at this level now. I think it's incredible. But do I want them to win on Saturday? No, I don't. But
of course, we never thought they'd be in this position anyway. So
No.
now that they're here, yeah, they can enjoy it for a little bit.
See, this text rolls in. It says, hopefully no Milrow pick sixes this year. And I think that's another big part of it, right? Is if you're Alabama, you haven't turned the ball over this year. Don't do that for the first time against Vanderbilt. Probably not a good time for that to happen. All right, let's close it up with Miami Hater. He wants to chime in quickly on Hugh Freeze. How you doing this morning, Miami Hater?
Boys, I'm about ready to bust this day in the face. How are y'all?
Doing well, man. Doing well. What's on your mind? You got 30 seconds.
Hey, man, I just want to say something about Hugh Freeze. I've heard it stated multiple times that the SEC is becoming a one-score league. So Auburn's record, and GMAC has said this too, Auburn's record does not surprise me. It's not their record. It's how they lose the games. Because when you get into a one-score league, it becomes really about coaching and game clock management. He's doing a terrible job at that,
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you there, Miami Hater. Thanks for the call. We're back tomorrow at 6. Mac and Cube in the morning is next.